A widowed soldier, a collapsing inherited house, a child clutching a one-eyed dinosaur. What Ryan discovered on that rainy Pennsylvania afternoon wasn't just coming home. It was a silence that felt like it had been waiting for him. It was a plan, hidden inside walls and memories, designed to finish what life had already started breaking. A plan that would have worked if a light across the street hadn't turned on at the wrong moment. This is the story of how one decision to open the door changed 3 lives forever. The windshield wipers of the battered Ford F-150 cut through the heavy Pennsylvania rain, a rhythmic thwack hiss that felt less like a mechanical function and more like a countdown clock ticking toward 0. Ryan Carter killed the engine. The sudden silence that rushed into the cab wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, suffocating, loaded with the weight of everything he had left behind in the desert and everything he was terrified to face here on this quiet suburban street. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white, the thick calluses on his hands telling stories of rifles, sandbags, and steel. Stories that didn't belong in this leafy, rain-slicked driveway. The engine ticked as it cooled, a dying metallic sound. In the back seat, Noah shifted in his car seat, the rustle of his jacket sounding impossibly loud. 6 years old, innocent, waiting for his father to signal that it was safe to breathe. He was clutching a stuffed dinosaur that was missing an eye, a relic of a childhood that had already seen too much moving and not enough staying. Ryan looked in the rearview mirror, catching his own eyes in the shadows. They looked tired, rimmed with red, older than his 30 years. He wasn't just a widower returning to his childhood home because he ran out of options. He was a man holding the fragments of a family together with duct tape and sheer will, terrified that one wrong move, one missed paycheck, one emotional slip-up would shatter it all again. The house loomed in front of them, a dark silhouette against the gray sky. It didn't look like a sanctuary. It looked like a tomb. If you've ever stood in the wreckage of a life you thought was solid and wondered how to lay the first brick of a new one, you need to watch this. If you believe that a home is built with love, not just bricks, and that it's never too late to start over, hit the like button right now. And if you want more emotional stories about healing, courage, and finding where you belong, make sure to subscribe. Because a stranger across the street is about to show this broken soldier that the hardest battles aren't fought with guns, but with an open heart. Ryan took a breath that didn't quite fill his lungs. The air in the truck was stale, smelling of old coffee and anxiety. He turned around, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack his face. "We're here, buddy. Grandma and Grandpa's old place." Noah leaned forward, pressing his small hand against the cold glass, looking out at the dark structure. "Is it ours now?" Ryan swallowed the lump in his throat. He thought about the bank account with 3 figures in it. He thought about the job he hadn't fully secured yet. He thought about the loneliness waiting inside that front door. "Yeah," Ryan whispered, the word tasting like ash and iron. "It's ours." Cedar Hollow, Pennsylvania, usually wore autumn like a crown of gold and crimson, a postcard of American idyllics. But today, the gray sky made the town feel bruised, washing out the colors until everything looked like a faded photograph. Ryan stood in the center of the living room, his boots leaving wet prints on the dusty hardwood. The silence inside was different than the truck. It was the silence of a held breath. It smelled of stale dust, damp wood, and the distinct, musty scent of abandonment, that peculiar odor of a house that hasn't heard laughter in years. The house had been empty for 2 years since his father passed. Ryan had paid the property taxes remotely, ignoring the maintenance, ignoring the reality. Now the reality was staring back. The wallpaper in the hallway was peeling, curling down like dead skin to reveal the yellowed plaster beneath. A water stain on the ceiling, shaped like a jagged map of a country he didn't recognize, seemed to have grown darker just in the last hour with the rain outside. "Daddy, it's cold," Noah said, his voice small in the empty room. He was hugging his dinosaur tighter, looking at the dark corners where shadows seemed to pool. "I know, bud. I'm going to get the heater going. Keep your coat on for a minute." Ryan moved to the thermostat on the wall, a beige plastic relic from the 90s. He pushed the lever. Nothing. No hum of the furnace. No click of ignition. Just the dead silence of a system that had given up. He walked to the kitchen, his footsteps echoing too loudly. The fridge was a gaping mouth, the light bulb burnt out. It was empty and smelled of baking soda and neglect. He opened the pantry, praying for something, anything left behind. Nothing but a rusted can of tomato soup and thick gray cobwebs stretching between the shelves. He pulled his phone from his pocket, the screen glow harsh in the dim light. He checked his bank app. The number stared back at him, unblinking, low, dangerously low. The military severance was dwindling faster than he had calculated, eaten up by the move, the truck repairs, the deposit on utilities. The job at Blue Ridge Remodeling wouldn't pay out for 2 weeks. He felt the familiar tighten in his chest, the constriction of the throat, the pounding heart, the sweat pricking at his hairline. Panic. It wasn't the sharp, adrenaline-fueled focus of combat. It was the slow, crushing pressure of domestic failure. He had survived convoys in the desert, sniper fire, and 120-degree heat, but the idea of not being able to feed his son a warm meal on their first night back made his hands shake uncontrollably. He walked to the window above the sink, looking out at the street. It was a picture-perfect American suburb. Manicured lawns, pumpkins arranged artfully on porches, warm lights glowing in windows where families were probably eating roast chicken and talking about their day. He felt separated from them by a thick pane of glass, an alien species who had forgotten the code for how to be a civilian. He wasn't a hero here. He wasn't a sergeant. He was just a broke single dad in a rotting house, waiting for the ceiling to collapse. Then he saw it, across the street. A warm yellow light flicked on in the bungalow opposite his. Through the sheer curtains, he saw a silhouette move past the window. Calm, steady. Someone moving with purpose, not fear. Ryan turned away, closing the blinds. He couldn't borrow warmth. He had to build his own, even if he had to do it with frozen hands. The next morning, the rain had finally cleared, leaving the air crisp and smelling of wet leaves and damp earth. The sun was out, but it offered little heat. Ryan was on the front porch, wrestling with a rotted floorboard that had snapped under his boot earlier that morning. He was on his knees, grunting with exertion, sweat dripping down his nose despite the chill. The pry bar slipped, gouging the wood, and his knuckles slammed against the rough grain. "Damn it," he hissed, the frustration boiling over. "Language," a voice called out, soft but laced with amusement. Ryan froze. The adrenaline spiked, a reflex. He hadn't realized anyone was close. He looked up, squinting against the morning sun. Standing at the edge of his driveway, just past the overgrown hedge, was a woman. She held a ceramic casserole dish wrapped in a checkered tea towel, steam rising from it in the cool air. She wore an oversized knit cardigan that looked swallowed by her frame and jeans that had white paint splatters on the hem. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun that seemed to defy gravity. Megan Hayes. He remembered her from high school, the quiet girl in a P. English who always had a book and wore headphones in the hallway. She looked different now, grounded, solid, like she belonged to the earth beneath her feet. Megan? Ryan stood up slowly, wiping his dirty hands on his jeans, feeling suddenly conscious of his unshaven face and stained t-shirt. "Welcome back, Ryan," she said, walking up the path. She didn't look at the peeling paint or the weeds choking the walkway. She looked right at him, her eyes clear and unjudging. "I saw the lights on last night. I figured moving day means zero time for cooking, and bachelor fridge is a real condition." She extended the dish. "Lasagna. It's definitely not healthy, and there's probably too much cheese, but it heats up well and it fills the void." Ryan stared at the dish. It smelled of garlic, oregano, and tomato sauce, scents that triggered a violent hunger in his stomach. It was a lifeline disguised as pasta. But the pride, the stubborn, masculine need to be self-sufficient, flared up. "You didn't have to," he said, his voice rougher than he intended, scratching like gravel. "We're fine." "I know you're fine," Megan said, her eyes scanning his face, reading the exhaustion he tried so desperately to hide his stoic mask. "But you're also probably hungry. And Noah needs fuel if he's going to explore the backyard jungle you've got going on." Ryan blinked, the defense crumbling slightly. "You saw Noah?" "Saw him peering out the front window this morning. He looks like he needs a friend. Or at least a cookie." She smiled, and it wasn't the pity smile he had gotten from everyone else, the poor widower smile. It was a "I'm your neighbor and this is what we do" smile, practical, real. She set the dish on the porch railing because Ryan hadn't taken it yet. "I'm across the street," she said, pointing to the bungalow with the yellow light he had seen the night before. "I work from home. If you need a drill that actually works, or just quiet, come over." She turned to leave, her boots crunching on the gravel. Then she paused and looked back. "Ryan? Yeah? It's okay to let the nail win sometimes. It's just wood. It's not the enemy." She walked away. Ryan stood there for a long time, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce wafting up, cutting through the scent of wet rot and failure. For the first time in 48 hours, the knot in his shoulders dropped an inch. He picked up the dish. It was still warm. The days began to bleed into a routine, a slow, gritty montage of reconstruction. Ryan threw himself into the house like it was a mission objective. If he could fix the structure, maybe he could fix the internal damage. He sanded floors until his arms burned and his skin was coated in a fine white dust, trying to scour away the memories of his father's decline that seemed etched into the grain. He patched drywall, hiding the cracks, smoothing over the imperfections, desperate to make the walls perfect for Noah, as if a smooth wall could protect a child from emotional trauma. But the house fought back. It was stubborn. Pipes burst in the middle of the night, spraying icy water over the kitchen floor. The roof leaked, a rhythmic drip 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 that sounded like Chinese water torture. Every fix revealed two more problems. And through it all, Megan became a recurring note in the chaotic melody, a counter-rhythm to his stress. Monday morning, the air was sharp. Ryan was struggling to get Noah into the car for his first day of kindergarten. Noah was sobbing, clinging to the doorframe with surprising strength, screaming that he didn't want to go. Ryan was pleading, his patience fraying, his voice rising in desperation. Megan appeared from nowhere, holding 2 travel mugs. She didn't interfere. She didn't lecture. She just handed Ryan a coffee, black, strong, exactly how he needed it, and crouched down to Noah's level. "Nice dinosaur," she whispered to Noah, ignoring the tears. "Does he like school?" Noah sniffled, hiccuping. "No, mine didn't either," Megan lied smoothly, her eyes twinkling. "He hated the glue. Said it was too sticky on his claws." Noah giggled, a wet, sudden sound. The tension broke like a fever. Ryan got him in the car. He looked at Megan over the roof of the truck, mouthing a silent thank you. She just raised her mug in a toast to survival. Wednesday afternoon. The sun was high. Ryan was on the roof, hammering shingles, sweating through his shirt. He looked down and saw Megan in her garden, deadheading mums with precise snips. She looked up, shielding her eyes with a gloved hand. "You're going to fall," she called out, half joking, half concerned. "I've jumped out of planes, Megan. I'm good. Planes have parachutes. That roof has gravity. And concrete below it." He laughed. It was a rusty, unfamiliar sound in his throat, like an engine turning over after years of sitting idle. Friday evening. Ryan came home from a contracting job at Blue Ridge, covered in sawdust, his back aching, his mind numb. He expected to find Noah waiting by the window. Instead, he found the house empty. Panic flared instantly, a cold spike in his gut. Where was he? He looked across the street. Noah was on Megan's porch swing, reading a book with her. She was pointing at the pictures, and he was listening, entranced. Ryan stopped at the edge of the lawn, the panic dissolving into a strange, heavy ache. "He got locked out," Megan called softly as Ryan approached. "I told him the spare key was under the mat, but he said he wanted to wait here. I think he just wanted company." She wasn't pushing. She wasn't trying to be a mother figure or a replacement. She was just there, a constant variable in an equation Ryan couldn't solve. "One day at a time, Ryan," she told him later that evening, handing over Noah, who was half asleep, and a bag of apples from her tree. "You don't have to build Rome in a weekend. I just want it to be a home," Ryan confessed, his voice low, looking at the dark windows of his house across the street. "It is," she said, her voice firm, "because you're in it. The rest is just lumber." 2 weeks in, Megan invited them to the Cedar Hollow Farmers Market. "It's non-negotiable," she texted him. "Noah needs a candy apple. You need to stop sanding things for 1 hour before you turn into sawdust." The town square was bustling. The air smelled of cinnamon, wood smoke, and fried dough, the perfume of small-town comfort. Ryan felt the familiar itch of crowds, the hyper-awareness, the scanning of perimeters, the sensitivity to sudden noises. He kept a hand on Noah's shoulder, a protective vice grip that he had to consciously loosen every few minutes. But walking next to Megan changed the dynamic. She acted as a buffer, a shield made of warmth. People stopped them constantly. "Megan, thanks for the session on Tuesday, helped a lot. Meg, honey, those pies are ready for the charity drive. Dr. Hayes, good to see you." She was the town's emotional anchor. As a therapist, she held the secrets and the grief of half the zip code, yet she walked with a lightness Ryan envied. She carried others' burdens without letting them crush her. "You're popular," Ryan muttered, scanning the crowd, feeling out of place in his work boots and field jacket. "I just listen," Megan shrugged, grabbing an apple from a crate. "People mostly just want to be heard. They want to know they exist." They stopped at a cider stand. The vendor, an older man with a white beard named Mr. Henderson, beamed at them. "Ryan Carter, is that you? You look just like your dad did back in '95. Ryan tensed. He prepared for the pity. He knew the script. "So sorry about your wife. Thank you for your service." Must be hard. He braced himself for the awkwardness. But Mr. Henderson just handed Noah a warm cider. "Good to have you back, son. We need good folks around here. Megan, make sure he doesn't work himself to death, all right? I see that truck leaving at 6 a.m. "I'm trying, Earl," Megan laughed, bumping her shoulder against Ryan's arm playfully. It was a small contact, electric. The touch lingered on his skin through the layers of fabric. Ryan looked down at Noah. The boy was laughing, sticky-faced, showing Megan a miniature pumpkin. For the first time in years, Ryan didn't feel like a soldier guarding a perimeter or a widower mourning a life. He felt like a father at a market on a Saturday. He realized he was holding his breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the siren or the bad news. But the only thing dropping were autumn leaves, drifting lazily to the pavement. It was raining again. A heavy, relentless downpour that drummed against the newly patched roof, testing Ryan's work. Noah was asleep inside. Ryan sat on his front porch steps, sheltered by the overhang, a cold beer in his hand. He was staring into the wet darkness, listening to the rain hiss against the asphalt. The silence was back, and tonight, it was loud. It was the kind of silence that asks questions you don't want to answer. The screen door across the street creaked. Megan came out, wrapped in a thick wool blanket, holding a steaming mug of tea. She walked across the wet asphalt in her slippers, ignoring the puddles. Moving like she was walking into her own living room, she sat next to him on the step. She didn't ask permission. She didn't say hello. She just sat, her presence settling the air around him. They watched the rain in silence for a long time. "You're doing a good job, Ryan," she said quietly, her voice barely rising above the rain. Ryan scoffed, a bitter, sharp sound. He took a sip of beer. "I forgot to sign his permission slip today. We ate cereal for dinner. Again. And I yelled at him this morning for spilling milk because the sound of the glass breaking sounded like..." He trailed off, his jaw tightening. "Like a gunshot?" Megan asked. Her voice was steady, devoid of judgment, stripped of the horror civilians usually showed. Ryan nodded, looking at his hands. "I'm broken, Megan. I came back here to give him a normal life, but I don't know if I know how to be normal anymore. I'm just waiting for everything to fall apart. I'm waiting to fail him like I failed everyone else." Megan turned to him. The porch light cast shadows across her face, making her look fierce and soft all at once. "You think you're broken because you have scars. But scars are just skin that's tougher than it used to be. It's the strongest part of you." She took a sip of her tea. "Why did you really come back, Ryan?" "Because I had nowhere else to go," he admitted, the truth tumbling out. "And because I wanted him to know where he came from. Before I messed it all up completely. You aren't messing it up. You showed up. You're fixing the roof. You're reading the bedtime stories even when you're exhausted. That's the work, Ryan. Love isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a choice you make every morning when you're terrified. It's presence." She reached out, her hand hovering over his for a second, then resting gently on his knuckles. Her skin was warm, a shocking contrast to the cold air. "You don't have to be Captain America here," she whispered. "You just have to be Noah's dad. And maybe, just maybe, you can just be Ryan." Ryan looked at her hand on his. He turned his hand over slowly, lacing his fingers with hers. It was terrifying. It was more frightening than any patrol he had ever been on. It was the bravest thing he had done in years. The piece was fragile, a glass sculpture Ryan was afraid to touch, and it cracked on a Tuesday afternoon. Ryan was in Megan's driveway, helping her change the oil in her sedan, a task she insisted she could do, and she could, but he wanted to help. It was an excuse to be near her. They were laughing, grease smudged on their faces, a lightness between them that felt dangerously like happiness. A sleek silver BMW pulled into the driveway, blocking them in. The engine purred with arrogant precision. Ryan's instinct engaged instantly. The laughter died in his throat. He straightened up, wiping his hands on a rag, stepping slightly in front of Megan. His body went rigid, a wall of muscle and tension. The door opened. A man stepped out. Expensive suit, perfect hair, a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. Derek Coleman. "Meg," Derek said, his voice smooth as oil. "You haven't been answering my texts." "I was starting to worry." Megan stiffened. Rand felt the shift in her energy. Not fear, exactly, but a weary, heavy exhaustion. The ghost of an old battle. "Because we have nothing to talk about, Derek," Megan said, her voice hard, stripped of its usual warmth. "Come on." "I heard you were playing house with the local handyman," Derek sneered, his eyes flicking to Ryan's stained t-shirt and grease-covered hands with amused contempt. "Just wanted to check if you were having another one of your episodes, thinking you can save the world one stray dog at a time." Ryan took a step forward. The rage was a cold, sharp thing in his gut. This was the threat. This was the enemy. He knew how to handle enemies. He knew how to neutralize threats. "You need to leave," Ryan said, his voice low, vibrating with a menace that made the air drop 10 degrees. "Now?" Derek laughed, looking Ryan up and down. "Relax, G.I. Joe. This is between adults. Why don't you go fix a toilet or something?" Ryan's fist clenched. He was ready. He wanted to hit something. To protect her. To prove he was useful, that he could defend the perimeter. "Ryan, stop." Megan's voice cut through the red haze like a command. She stepped in front of him, putting a hand on his chest. She didn't push him back. She just held him there. "I don't need a bodyguard, Ryan," she said, her eyes locked on his. Then she turned to Derek. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She stood tall, her spine made of steel. "Derek, you are trespassing. We are done. I am not your project and I am not your victim. If you do not leave in 10 seconds, I will call Sheriff Miller and he will arrest you. Again. Do you want that on your record before the board meeting?" She held his gaze. Silence stretched, tense and brittle. Derek sneered, sensing he had lost the audience, sensing that his power had evaporated. "Fine. Have fun with the charity case, Meg. He's a ticking time bomb anyway." He got in the car and reversed out, tires screeching on the pavement, a final tantrum. Ryan stood there, adrenaline pumping, feeling foolish. His hands were shaking. I just wanted to—" "I know," Megan said, turning to him. She was shaking slightly too, but her eyes were clear. "I know you want to protect me, but I've spent 3 years learning how to protect myself from men like him. I don't need a savior, Ryan. I don't need to be rescued. I need a partner. Someone who stands with me, not in front of me." Ryan looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't a damsel. She was a fortress, and she was offering him the key. "I can do that," he said softly, the rage fading into admiration. "I want to do that. To reset, to wash away the residue of Derek and the stress of the renovation, they decided to get away." Megan booked a weekend at Lake Briar Cabin Rentals in the Poconos, neutral ground. No remodeling, no ex-boyfriends, just trees, water, and sky. The cabin was rustic, smelling of pine sap and wood smoke. It was intimate, a small space that forced them to be close. They spent the day hiking. Noah ran ahead, collecting pine cones like they were gold, screaming with joy as he threw rocks into the lake, creating ripples that expanded outward. Ryan and Megan walked behind, the silence between them comfortable now, woven with unspoken possibilities and shared glances. That evening, they made a fire in the pit outside. The stars were out, brighter than they ever were in town. Noah was roasting marshmallows, his face sticky and glowing in the orange firelight. "Daddy?" Noah asked, watching his marshmallow catch fire and turn black. "Yeah, bud. Is Megan going to live with us?" The question hung in the air, stripping away all pretenses. It was simple, direct, and devastatingly honest. Ryan froze. He looked at Megan. She was freezing too, holding a graham cracker, her eyes wide. Ryan could have deflected. He could have said, "We're just friends," or "Eat your chocolate," or "Adults have complicated lives." But he looked at the woman who had brought lasagna when he was starving. The woman who taught him that scars were just tough skin. The woman who stood her ground against her past so she could have a future. He looked at his son, who seemed happier than he had been in 2 years. "I don't know, Noah," Ryan said honestly, his heart hammering against his ribs. "But I wouldn't mind if she did. I think I'd like that a lot." He looked at Megan. Her eyes were shimmering, reflecting the dancing flames. "I think," Megan whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "that sounds like a really good plan." It wasn't a proposal. It was bigger than that. It was an admission of need. A declaration that they were done fighting their battles alone. It was a promise to stop running. The return to Cedar Hollow felt different. The house didn't look like a ruin anymore. It looked like a project. It looked like a future. The climax wasn't a fight with a villain. It was a construction of a life. It was a Saturday. Ryan, Megan, and Noah were in the living room. They had cleared out the last of the old, rotted furniture. The room was empty, echoing, but full of potential. Sunlight streamed through the clean windows. Ryan had a roll of blueprints on the floor, not for the structural repairs of the house, but a sketch he had made late one night. A drawing of a built-in bookshelf for Megan's endless collection of novels and a window seat for Noah to watch the street. "I want to build this," Ryan said, pointing to the drawing, his finger tracing the lines. "Here, along this wall." Megan knelt beside him, looking at the sketch. "It's beautiful, Ryan. It's huge. It's permanent," Ryan said. He looked at her. "I'm not leaving, Megan. I'm not running from the quiet anymore. I want to fill the quiet with you." "With us?" He reached into his pocket. No ring yet. Too soon. Too cliché. Instead, he pulled out a key. A shiny new copy of his house key that he had cut that morning. "I want you to have this," he said, holding it out. "Not for emergencies. Not for checking on the cat we don't have. Just because you live here too. In my head, in my heart. You're the foundation, Meg." Megan took the key. She closed her fist around it, pressing the cold metal to her chest. "I'm scary to love, Ryan," she said, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I have baggage. I have days where I can't be strong, where I can't be the therapist." "Good," Ryan said, pulling her in, burying his face in her neck. "Those are the days I'll stand in front. We trade off. That's the deal." They kissed. It wasn't Hollywood fireworks. It was the feeling of a lock clicking into place. A heavy door finally shutting against the cold wind. Noah ran in from the kitchen, wearing a plastic construction helmet Ryan had bought him, wielding a plastic hammer. "Are we building now?" Noah shouted, ready for action. Ryan pulled away from Megan, keeping his arm around her waist. He looked at his son. He looked at the woman he loved. "Yeah, buddy," Ryan smiled, and the smile finally reached his eyes, chasing away the last of the shadows. "We're building." 6 months later. The morning light filtered through the new curtains in the living room, curtains Megan had picked out, a soft cream color that caught the sun. The built-in bookshelf was finished, floor to ceiling, filled with paperbacks, hardcovers, and framed photos. One photo showed Ryan and Noah in front of the house, covered in paint. Another showed the three of them at the lake, laughing. The kitchen smelled of coffee and pancakes, a sharp contrast to the baking soda smell of 6 months ago. Ryan stood at the stove, flipping flapjacks with practiced ease. He wore a flannel shirt, his posture relaxed. The tension in his shoulders was gone, replaced by a quiet, steady strength. Megan came in, dressed for work, grabbing a travel mug from the counter. She kissed Ryan's cheek, a casual intimacy that spoke of routine, then kissed the top of Noah's head as he ate his breakfast at the table. "Don't forget, parent-teacher conference at 4, she reminded him, grabbing her keys, the ones with the house key on the ring. "I'll be there," Ryan said. "I'm always there." She left, the front door closing with a solid thud. Ryan watched her walk to her car across the street, not to live, but just to pick up a file from her office. She'd be back. This was home now. He looked out the window. The leaves were green again. Spring had come to Cedar Hollow. The cycle had turned. Ryan turned off the stove. He poured a cup of coffee and took a sip. It tasted like hazelnut. It tasted like a second chance. He looked at the empty space where the fear used to be and found it full. He wasn't waiting for the war anymore. He was finally, truly, home.